NFL.com has picked Roschon Johnson to end up being the Bears' starting running back when it's all said and done. We're also going to talk about the breakout players that could come out of these OTAs. We're going to get into all that plus some more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And so we're going to jump right into the content today. Well, if you want to follow me, you can do so at CEO Haize. If you want to follow the show, which is more important, do so at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. But NFL.com's Gregg Rosenthal actually had a wild prediction. Well, not so wild if you ask some people, but he said this: I'm probably going too far projecting fourth-round rookie Roschon Johnson as the starter here. But I like his running style. It should be a wide-open competition with Khalil Herbert and D'Onta Foreman. So when you look at this now, and you look at the kind of the hype that's built around Roschon Johnson almost since he got drafted, right? We were talking about on draft day, some people saying that the Bears got their new starting running back. And while I've been trying to temper expectations here to a certain degree, just make them a little bit more realistic and saying Roschon Johnson is absolutely our starting running back at some point in the future. I just don't know if it's going to be to start off this season, but the hype is there. And I think he is going to be given an opportunity to earn a role on this team in OTAs and in training camp. And we're going to end up seeing if Roschon Johnson does end up winning the starting running back position. To me, that says nothing but great things for the Chicago Bears team overall. If you have a rookie coming in that you got in the fourth round and he's coming in and he plays that great, we already know what Khalil Herbert can be, right? We've seen what D'Onta Foreman can be as well. And where some Bears fans think, oh, well, D'Onta Foreman is already faster and bigger, that doesn't make you a necessarily better running back. It's more things that go into being a running back than just being fast and even bigger. And with the intelligence that Roschon Johnson has, right, and being a former quarterback, knowing how to read defenses and things like that, the sky's really the limit for him. I'm not necessarily picking him to be our starting running back on day one. I'm not doing that. But what I am going to say is that, hey, there's some potential for him to be a very big part of what the Chicago Bears do offensively from the get-go. And I do think that Luke Getsy is going to be motivated to get him involved in the offense. I've talked about how they can creatively use him already on the show, and I do think that they're going to find ways to get creative and use Roschon Johnson early in the season. And as long as he improves, hey, we're going to have a running back for a long time. Now, Roschon Johnson also signed his 4-year rookie deal yesterday, so we know we're going to have him locked in. Really was no question in regards to that. I don't think anybody questioned whether he was going to sign or not, but we have him there. We got him locked in. He's going to be here for at least 4 years. And to see how he develops and that story that's told with him, I, for one, can't wait to see it. But moving on into the next topic, Bleacher Report had an article. You guys know how I feel about my Bleacher Report articles. And they were predicting the breakout players for the Chicago Bears in 2023. And this list is not necessarily the names that you would have expected. Me, Bobby, and C-Dub just recently did an episode on players that we think need to take or poised to take leaps in 2023. And while some of these names we did mention as well, there's a name here towards the bottom of this list that I just did not expect a major outlet to pick, but let's get into it. Chase Claypool was the first one that they had listed up. They talked about how Chase Claypool did not have a chance to really be integrated into the offense. Of course, that's one thing that we've been talking about with Chase all offseason. But they also cited how he has had 1,733 receiving yards in 31 games his first 2 seasons in the NFL. And so the talent is there. And I understand predicting Chase Claypool to potentially have a breakout season for the Chicago Bears. I know he wants it going into contract negotiations. Hell, the offense can use it. And if Chase Claypool, or any wide receiver for that matter of fact, has a breakout season, that also would mean that Justin Fields has improved as a passer, and as an offense, we're overall passing the ball a lot more than what we were last season. When you look at the wide receiver room overall, we went from our wide receiver room being a big question mark at the start of last season. When you look at names like Byron Pringle, who's no longer on the team, Equinami St. Brown being the wide receiver number 2, whereas now he's kind of the 4th one on the depth chart. We came into that season with that, and now we have DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, and we have so much more strength in that passing game now than what we had before. And if Justin Fields makes that leap that we need to see him take as a passer and decision maker as well, and paired with Luke Getsy, growing as an offensive coordinator, I tell you what, I can absolutely see Chase Claypool and really any wide receiver on this team having a big year, so to say, but we just got to make sure it's actually going to happen by it coming true on the field. So that's going to definitely be something to look out for. Now, a player that me and Bobby did pick out, and I think C-Dub had him, talked about him a little bit as well when we did our episode this past Sunday, is Braxton Jones. That was the next player up on their list. And it all says, right? Braxton Jones being a solid offensive lineman last season, having his ups, having his downs as a rookie. That's to be expected, of course. But going through that, right? Going through that trial by fire, so to say, starting since the day one for the Chicago Bears, growing. And now they're moving Tevin Jenkins, who was one of our strongest offensive linemen, to the left side with him next season. Braxton Jones protecting that weak side of our quarterback is going to be hugely important for the Chicago Bears going into next season. And so him making a leap in year 2 can be hugely beneficial for the Chicago Bears and for him. And if we get him to make that leap, and if he does show that ability to be that offensive tackle over there on that left side for the next handful of years, listen, you can do a lot worse. And you want to also build chemistry and continuity on that offensive line when you can. And when you look at it, Tevin Jenkins, Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, they theoretically are going to be here for a very long time, right? Especially if they grow, keep progressing the way that we need them to. They're going to be that offensive line and the stewards of that offensive line for a long time. Then you pair him with that Nate Davis and Cody Whitehair, who some people think may be cut, but paired with Cody Whitehair, you have vets on that offensive line with them that can definitely help push them along in their progression as well. Our offensive line, much like the wide receiver room, is drastically improved heading into this season. We just need to see it come to fruition. For Braxton Jones being on that list of potential breakout players, I'm not surprised at it all, and I have not one issue with it. Next up, and this is the one that kind of surprised me, that he was listed on here by an outlet like Bleacher Report before Travis Gibson, is Dominique Robinson. And on this, they quoted the fact that he had 1.5 sacks last season, right? He showed some flashes. The Bears ranked last in sacks at only 20 last season, but the improvements in the interior defensive line for the Chicago Bears are going to help the edges, right? Now, if Dominique Robinson is a benefactor of that remains to be seen. Travis Gibson, who the last time we had a solid defensive line, got 7 sacks. There's enough to think potential in him also having another bounce back season in a way. But I tell you what, Dominique Robinson coming in, drafted by this front office, if he can come in and have that impact in that year, in year 2, and show up and show out and show that, hey, if you have a solid defense, you got a contributor here. It remains to be seen if he's going to be a long-term starter or not. But you know, in a season where the Bears didn't really do a lot of addressing out on that edge position, he's going to have an opportunity, right? We still expect Travis Gibson to start with Walker on that on the edges, but Dominique Robinson is going to be that first defensive end off the bench, and he's going to be used as another depth piece. And so because of that, you can absolutely see and talk yourself into the Chicago Bears absolutely benefiting from Dominique Robinson and him coming off the bench for that team. It's really up to him, right? It's up to him to own that development. It's up to him to come into training camp with a focus on getting better as a player overall, but he can definitely benefit from the overall improvement on that defensive side of the ball. Also having better coverage protection, right? Growth in our secondary. Better linebacking core coming into this season. A more complete linebacking core that is probably going to specialize in how they do in coverage and against the run game. We're going to have Dominique Robinson and Travis Gibson. I just kind of want to mention both of them in the same breath because they both can have breakout years for the Chicago Bears. And I do think that one of them is poised to do it. And if we can get both of them to do it, that's even bigger, right? That's even a bigger benefit for the Chicago Bears if they can have both these guys show out in their roles. One as a starter, one as a depth piece, whatever ends up happening. So that's kind of what has happened, what they have picked out as their breakout players. I want to hear from you guys down below. If you're on the YouTube side, who are your potential breakout players for the Chicago Bears heading into next season? Hey, man, OTAs are going on. We're going to keep getting more and more news coming out of the OTAs, more rumblings about how position battles and things are going to go on. And we'll see. This coaching staff, as we've known from last year, is a coaching staff that is going to try multiple things in training camp. They're going to try multiple looks. They're going to give everybody an opportunity. They're going to try to find out what matchups are the best matchups for each team as a totality of a team. And that's all you can really ask for from your coaching staff, is to put players in the best situation and have open position battles. The nature of competition that is going to be specifically on that defensive line for the Bears as well. As we look at Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens is there, adding to Justin Jones and Andrew Billings. It's going to be a fun training camp. It's going to be a fun OTAs. It's going to be fun training. It's going to be a fun offseason. And I think as that picture starts to come into more clarity and we see how these lineups are going to match up, it's going to tell us who really stood out and who we can expect to be those breakout players for the Chicago Bears. There's also a new rule in the NFL as well that came down where you can designate a quarterback as your third QB, and they don't take up a roster spot, I believe is the way that it works. And I haven't really had time to fully break down in this new rule, but it is what it is. Hopefully we don't have to go deep into our quarterback bag, right? Hopefully Justin Fields is able to stay upright and healthy as well. But NFL keeps trying innovative things and keeps finding things, especially, when it comes to quarterbacks and things like that. But it is what it is there. Also, other news from around the NFL. Apparently, Green Bay is going to be hosting the 2025 draft. Who the hell wants to go to Wisconsin? That's my thing. Who the hell wants to go to Wisconsin? But, we'll end up seeing, man. But, that's it. That's today's daily episode of Chicago Bears Central. Make sure you guys stay locked in. If any major news drops, I drop. You guys know how it goes around here. We're very straightforward with how our release schedule is. We're daily, but if major news drops, you can expect a definite new episode to drop if major news drops. And so we'll see. It also looks like the Football Power Index came down with new analytics, and it looks like the Bears are not giving that much chance right now to make the playoffs. It looks like out of 10,000 simulations, they predicted the Bears to go between 7.8 and 9.2 wins and losses. So, hey, that's that puts us behind the Lions, the Vikings, and a little bit ahead of the Packers. So the Bears are going to have to prove some things this season. But we already knew that was the case. But that's it. That's my time for today. Make sure you're following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for our mailbag episodes, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Bear Down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.